Okay, Duncan Jarman, congratulations on your Oscar nomination for The Revenant. How did it feel when you got the news that you'd been nominated?
Well, amazing, of course. I was absolutely petrified, to tell you the truth, all the way through the day, because obviously in the UK, the nomination results don't come out till just after lunchtime. So I was sitting there with my family, not really being able to eat particularly well, feeling a little bit sick, and thought, I've just got to get out of the house and walk and not really kind of think about it. I didn't want to do any clock watching. So I was wandering the streets, taking a dog for a walk, and luckily I was looking at my watch thinking, well, the results must come out soon. It must come out soon. And it had gone maybe a minute or 2 minutes past, and nothing had flicked up on my phone. And then suddenly there was a ping from Sean Grigg, Leo's makeup artist, and it just said, "We're in!" So jumping up and down in the streets outside the house. People look at me like I was some kind of crazy person. But yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, tell us how you got involved with this movie. I spoke to Sean yesterday, and she said that she called you up because she needed some help on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, me and Sean were working on a film called Suffragette. I was doing some dailies for her, just doing some prosthetic work. And she mentioned one of those days that she'd been sent the script for The Revenant, and that there might be quite a lot of prosthetic work in it. So I was like, well, I'm up for that. So I think maybe a week or two later after that, we flew out to LA, had our first meeting with Alejandro, and he explained roughly the ways that him and Chivo wanted to film the shots, because at the time Birdman hadn't really come out, so nobody was aware of the digital splicing and the long shots that they like to use. And obviously from a prosthetic point of view, when I'm doing makeup effects, we're used to lots of edits and close-ups. So it was an eye-opener for us. And after that first meeting with Alejandro, we got lots of reference photographs together, and we discussed video footage that we'd watched of bear attacks. And we then got an idea of what he was after. And the next day we went away and we started to live cast Leo. We started with the head cast and started doing all the body casts, and then shipped those back to the UK when we started. And then we started maybe about 2 weeks later.
I wonder if you could delve a bit more into why it is such a challenge to do these long takes from your end as a makeup and prosthetics artist.
It's not so much for the makeup, it's for any of the sort of more detailed prosthetic gags. I mean, mostly to do with the bear attack, and also with there's a scene where Glass is at the riverbank and he's drinking water, and there's water gurgling back out every time he takes a swig of water. The water starts gurgling out the hole in his throat. And I mean, both of those scenes, it's a very long lead up. Normally we'd have the character walking or crawling towards the water's edge, and then we'd cut to the close-up, whereas they wanted him to do the whole scene, the crawling, the filling up the water, the drinking, everything all in one shot, which means that everything's got to be remote. So us, along with the special effects guys, worked out a way of having bottles strapped to his body that were on compressed air that could then squirt the water through and gurgle out the throat. And the same with the neck, with the bear attack. With the bear attack, because they wanted to do the whole shot with the bear being rolled off, exposing the wounds to his chest, and then rolling him over, then exposing all the wounds to the back, and then wanting them to bleed as soon as they turned, and then rolling him back and then seeing the gurgling from the throat, then rolling him again and doing the stitching all in the same shot. You know, it was tricky.
It sounds like it. So when it came to those wounds, I wonder what kind of research materials that you gathered.
Yeah, I mean, historically, Hugh Glass, he received obviously the wound to the throat, and then claw marks to his back exposing the ribs, and a broken leg. And I mean, initially it was discussed that we were going to try and work out how to break his leg, and we decided we'd actually go with a dislocated ankle. And you don't really see it so much in the movie. There's some video footage, I think, online of the leg being snapped, the ankle being snapped out and snapped back in again. So that historically, those were the wounds he received. Then from that, we showed Alejandro images of the real wounds that we found online and in my reference library at home, of people that have been attacked not only by bears but also by animals, those kind of claw mark kind of wounds. Found the ones that he was really interested in, and then worked out roughly whereabouts on the body those would go, and we went from there.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you're charting the progression of these wounds as they're healing or becoming infected.
Yeah.
Now, from my understanding, this movie was mostly shot in sequence, but of course, there's bits and pieces of where you got to jump back and forth. So, can you talk about some of the logistical challenges of that?
Yeah, I mean, what we did first was, we knew the bear attack would be, we had to get that one nailed down first. So we did a lot of tests in the UK. We built everything in the UK with a team in London. And the idea was, if we could nail down the look. So we nailed down the look of the bear attack. We sent photographs to Alejandro and did any changes until he was happy with that look. Then we nailed down the effects, so the gurgling of the throat, the gurgling of the wounds, the dripping of the blood and everything. Once we got all of that sorted out, we knew, okay, we can then work forwards to doing the infected versions and the healing versions. So I mean, I think in the movie there's about 5 different sort of waist up looks of the various sort of healings and the infections. We always decided that he'd be able to clean the wounds on his front, and therefore those ones would heal quicker than the ones on his back, because he just couldn't physically get to them. And yeah, they sort of depended from sort of like a 3-hour makeup all the way through to right at the end, when you see Leo at the fort and he's got all the body scars on. That probably took about 5 hours to complete in the end.
My God, wow. So you were excited about getting your nomination. What would it mean for you to win?
I mean, obviously it would be amazing. So yeah, I mean, I don't a lot of effects people sort of run their own companies. I don't. I will occasionally run jobs like this one for the Revenant. But most of the time, I'm the average Joe sculpting in the corner of making molds in a workshop. So I don't think it's going to change me anything at all, apart from getting ribs from other people in the workshop.
What is it that excites you about being a makeup artist and doing stuff like this?
I mean, it's always about the challenge, and when you're given these kind of gags to do, you always look back at ways that you've done them before, but you always want to try and improve and try and do these things better. And with the Revenant, I'm always used to doing these kind of things in a studio environment, where everything's very, very controlled. Whereas on the Revenant, obviously, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and really the elements, we never knew from day to day whether it's going to be snowing, whether it's going to be sunny, and all of those kind of things were the things that made it more interesting to do, because sometimes you just don't know whether it's going to work or not.
Well, it looks like you pulled it off.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your work and on your nomination.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you.